Hey there, I'm BogdanBudaca and welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me for another mind workout. It's my first video this year, so first of all, Happy New Year, Happy 2021, and I hope it's going to be a good one. So today I figured I could get a bit more practice and also try to get a hang of Pact testing. So it should be fun if you want to follow along, so let's dig right in. So I have a few notes here to get us started. So what is software testing? Basically, at the lowest level, I see it as code written to guarantee the quality and the functionality of other code. So it helps us guarantee that that code is working as it's supposed to. It helps us understand what it's trying to do. For example, also if somebody is making a change in the code and the tests break, that needs to be double checked. And basically that always ensures the functionality. So yeah, it's there's no software development without testing, so it's something we need, something very useful as well. So there's a bunch of different terms and approaches. We'll just go through a few. So at the lowest level, we have the unit tests. These test the smallest piece of code, for example, a function. Then we have integration tests, component, integration, sociable. These test multiple pieces of code working together. Then we have end-to-end. This is for testing from start to finish, the code from start to finish. Then we have interface testing, and then exploratory or manual. So just a few of the methodologies: test-driven development, behavioral-driven development, domain-driven design. We won't go into these, just to mention them. So here's a small representation to help us understand the different kinds of tests. You can see that as we go up, they're slower and more expensive. As we go down, they're cheaper and faster. So yeah, there's a bunch more where they're cheaper and faster, of course. So Pact testing is somewhere in the middle. So we're in the middle chunk for integration testing. So yeah, so I guess it's popular with a lot of code shops today. So what we're talking about in particular is consumer-driven Pact testing. I think this is also a popular approach more generally today in software development, like front-end first approach or consumer-driven. So for example, front-end first, you design your application starting from what you want to provide to the user, what you want to render. And from there on, you just build backwards to your microservice, to your persistent storage, or whatever else you have. And basically it's the same with this. So you start from the consumer. The consumer can be a front-end application, can be a service querying another service, microservice, or whatever you have. So we start from the consumer and we get to the provider. And basically the main part here that you see in the middle is the contract. Basically it's just a JSON file. It captures the kind of interactions, the queries, and the responses that the consumer expects. So first of all, we go to the consumer, we create the code, we write the code, or I think we could also write like the Pact test code first. So once we have that, basically we describe the kind of interactions, the kind of queries and responses that we expect. We test that against the so-called mock provider. And the testing framework, the testing library, the Pact testing library captures that contract in this JSON file. And then we can send that to the provider, and against the so-called mock consumer, the provider will check its outputs based on that JSON file contract. Okay, so this is pretty useful. It's of course it has its costs. It's pretty tedious to maintain sometimes, but it has its pluses, and it basically always guarantees that the interaction between the consumer and the provider is as needed. You can run this in your pipeline. For example, if there's a code change, you also see if everything is still in order and so on. So yeah, it's pretty useful as well. So I have a bunch of resources here. There is some boilerplate involved, and for me anyway, it was a bit of a hassle, some trial and error before I got everything set up and configured to run. But I have a bunch of resources here. I got bits and pieces from each of these. So I'm just gonna link to these in the video description as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This one, docs.pact.io, is very useful. So this is super useful. There's a lot of information here. You can see some more information here. We have some nice animation showing the consumer, the provider, the mock provider or consumer, the Pact broker. So what we can do is we can pass that JSON file manually, and you'll see that in the demo. We can pass it manually from the consumer to the provider, or we can set up and we will give it a go and use a Dockerized Pact broker, which basically is just a server. So the consumer sends that JSON file to the server, and the provider gets it from there, and that way you don't have to do any manual work. So yeah, it's a lot of information here. There's a lot of information here, nice animation, everything good, pros and cons, everything you need. I use different blogs. Found, for example, GitHub pages. This is for the Docker Compose and for the YML file we will use just to launch a Postgres container and the Pact broker. Had found some code here, I just used it. I'm going to reference it as well. It's basically super simple, just to upload the JSON file to the Pact broker. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's dig into the demo. I have a couple of applications, very small, very straightforward. So the first one is an Angular application, which will be our consumer. For Angular, we will be using Jest. For the Pact testing, I have a springboot Java application for the provider, and there we will use Junit and Mockito. So let's just quickly go through the app. So it's super simple. We have a car model with just a car service. We have a car component here just to render these out in the service. So this is the model, ID, make, model. Super simple. Have the car service here. We just make a GET request to what will be our backend application, our provider. So in the car component, I get the car array by using the service method, getting this when the component's initialized. In the HTML, I just have a table here, iterate and render these out. So that's basically it. There's a bit of configuration indeed, so I'm just going to quickly go through it. There's some configuration here. Set up just TS. Some configuration in TS config spec for the decorators. Some more in Angular JSON for test. I think the juiciest part is here. So here we have the file. You'll see we have the same pattern. So pact.spec.ts. These are pointing to other configurations. This is the URL for the mock provider and so on. So we'll just go through the apps and the configurations very quick, and then we'll have a look at the tests. So this is basically it for the provider, for the consumer, sorry. So now going to the provider, this is a Spring Boot Java application, super simple. So we just have the controller, we have the method for the car's path, and we have the car model here. And in memory repo, just a list. I initialize it with a couple of cars. So the service, which calls the repo method. The service method gets used in the controller. So everything is super straightforward. I'm just gonna fire it up for 1 second. And this one as well, just so we can have a look. So give me a couple of seconds, please. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think this one's fired up. I'm still compiling. Okay, so we do have output. This one's still building. Okay, so this is just a table. We have our two cars, the Tesla S, the Ford Mustang. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna stop these. I need to make one change here. Just need the path for the Pact testing. Not sure why. Maybe I just like clone a separate method just for the Pact. So I can just stop the applications now. So let's have a look at the tests. So here there's a bunch of configuration again, the imports. This just configures our mock provider, so the port and everything. These are pretty important, and you'll see that in a minute. So the car service is the provider name, car consumer the consumer name. This will be the folder where we output that JSON file. So it will basically be this one. Just going to delete it, so you will see it being created. So some more configuration for the test bed, and here we describe our object, the cars array. So a couple of cars in the object. Here we describe the interaction. So the state cars exist upon receiving a request to get cars, the method, the path. So we want to return a 200 status code and the expected cars object which we created above. So this is the actual test. It should get cars. So whenever we call the service method, we will return the object that we created. So that's pretty much it. Super straightforward. I'm just going to run the test. Hopefully, if it works, we will also see our JSON file being created. So, okay, so here's our JSON file. This is pretty much it. We have the consumer name, the provider name. This just describes the whole interaction. So request to get cars, cars exist for the state, the method, the path, the response, and the object. Here you can have a bunch of different matchers, so you can see that in the documentation. We're matching by type, but you can have a bunch of matchers here. So this is it. This is our contract right now. So if we go here in our provider, of course, there was some configuration here as well, Mockito and the JUnit. And here we just have the configuration. So more some annotations here for the provider, the car service. This is pretty important. This is the name here. These should definitely match. The pact, so this will be our folder here. I'll delete this. Okie doke. So this is some more configuration here, just mocking the car service. This is some more configuration. This is basically the test. We have the at state annotation. So it's the same state. These should again match. So cars exist. You can see it here. So this is how they will be mapped. So here I just create a list, add a couple of cars, and basically whenever we call the service method, we return those cars. Okay. So I'm just gonna get that file. We'll just do the manual part now. I'm gonna get this one. I'm gonna go here and files, put it here. So this will be the manual passing of the file. You can see it here. I'm just gonna go here and run the tests. So basically now it will just check our output that we defined in the test against that JSON contract. So this is the gist of pact testing in a nutshell. Let's just see if it works. Okay, so we're green. You can see output here, given cars exist, a request to get cars. Status code 200 has matching body, so it's all good. We're good there. For example, if somebody comes one day in the provider and says, "Hey, I want to change this this car model," I'm just going to delete the field. Look, remove the getters and setters. What else here? So basically, our object now has only 2 properties instead of 3. Here as well. So basically now, when we push the code and the pipeline runs and the pact testing runs, we should get an error and it informs us, hey, there's a contract breach. Okay, so the communication between the consumer and the provider, it's not good. Let's have a check. Okay, so there's no matching body. So a map with at least 3 elements but received 2 elements. So that's all good. This works as expected. I'll just revert what we did. So this basically just told us, hey, something's wrong. The contract is not being upheld, so you need to fix that. Okay. So I just reverted what we tested. Okie doke. So now this was the manual part. What I'll do, I'll actually do it again. Stop these guys for 1 second. Okay. So they stopped. So basically there's a very nice YML file provided by Pact. You can also see it on Docker Hub. You can get it from Pact, so we just use a Postgres and a Pact broker. So we use these with Docker Compose, and we launch these up. We have the commands here, Docker Compose build. So we build this up. I have the file right here. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this up, bring this back up. So it's gonna fire up. And it's running on port 9292. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm gonna refresh. Okay, I'm gonna delete this one. Okay, so we're gonna start fresh. Okie doke. So now what I'll do, we have the publish pacts script here. So basically this just looks in the project folder. It has the URL here for the Pact broker. It gets what's in Pacts, and it just uploads to the Pact broker. Publish Pacts. Okay, so this is coming from Pact. Okay, so this is all provided with by Pact. Okay, I'm just going to run this up, see if this works. Okay, so Pact successfully published. So let's have a look. So we have it here less than a minute ago. We can see it. So this is the method, the path, the body. So it's all here, very nice, very nicely displayed. So in our provider, what we need to do is stop using the Pacts folder and just using the Pacts broker. So we have the URL here. Of course, you can have other configurations like credentials and so on. So I'll even delete this one here. So I'll just run this. So we're going to use our Pact broker. Hopefully it will work, and hopefully we'll see the output here as well. Confirming this. It'll be a second. Okay, so we're in the green. The Pact at, okay, so it found the Pact. It's being verified with matches the following configuration selection. Okay. So everything went smooth, so we're good. What I propose, just very quick, just have another endpoint created. For example, in the consumer, we want to add another endpoint. So what we're trying to render is some code ready here. So I just want to search the make of a car and return a list with all the cars belonging to that make. Okay, so I have a function here. It's basically just a simple form search. Here I want to display it actually, so I'm going to get the table. So we'll just have a second table with the searched cars, and we'll render those out. Okay, so here we will have searched cars. This is a car array again. Make string. Okay, so we need that get car function. So I'm just gonna use this. Just gonna copy this one very quick. Car here, get cars. Sorry, this make to lowercase, so we don't have any issues. This searched cars. Okay, so this one should be good now. Yeah, it's good. We need it here as well. Get car. Okay, so here we need make string. I'm just gonna use this. Okie doke. So here we need car slash. What does it make? Okay, I'm also gonna add this just so we can first see it. Base URL. Okay, I'm gonna get it for the one above as well. Here we go. Oh, I'm missing the $sign. Okay, so this should be it. Let's wire it up. So we have everything wired up now. So let's have the test updated. Hope I have everything good. Describe get cars. Where's this one finishing here? I'm just gonna get it from here. Describe get cars. I'm just gonna reuse and copy paste what we have. Describe get searched cars. I don't know. I'm low on inspiration. I'm just gonna use that. So a Tesla. Searched cars exist. Just to get searched cars. Oh. Searched cars get car Tesla. Selected searched cars. Okay, so here it should get searched cars. Let's see. Searched cars. This is our get car method Tesla. So let's run the tests again. So we basically wired everything up. We have the... Oh, these are gonna fail, and I know why. Because of this. Okay, probably I would just create like a separate mock controller, so to say, for the pacts. But for now this is fine. I'm just gonna toggle it. So we have everything wired up. We updated the tests. We're updating the pact contract. So we have this up. I'm gonna publish it. Hope that works. Okay, it's published. It went to our broker. So now, less than a minute ago, here we go. So if we go to our app and we test, the tests hopefully will break because the contract has been updated. So once they break, basically in the provider we need to code based on the new contract, and we need to accommodate the new consumer needs. So yeah, it broke. Request to get searched cars. Okay, so did not find a test class. Okay, perfect. So now what I'll do, first let's have a look at this running. So I'll just quickly add the code. First of all, I'm just gonna copy this. Okie doke. This will be get car dash make. Here we will have the path variable string make. I'll pass it here, get car, let's say. I'm gonna implement this. Memory repo get car make. Okay, so we have the controller method. We need the service method. We need the repo method. So here we could do like a list, car list, searched cars, just initialize it. And here we will just loop through our car list. And if we have a match, car get make on the make, we will add it to our searched cars list. Okay, so we just add this one here, return searched cars. Okay, so hopefully that's it. That's all we need. Let's give it a go. The controller is right. We have car make. Okay, well hopefully this will work. Compiled. This one seems to be running. Let's see, refresh. Okay, so they're coming. Tesla. Okay, so Tesla's coming. So we just search for the make. We render these out in the second table. That's it. Super basic. Doke, I'm gonna stop these apps. So the last thing for us to do now is accommodate. So we have the code. Let's also update the test and see that it works. So we're in the new state. So here let's look at our JSON file, our new JSON file. So here we will see both the requests, request to get searched cars, just as we've described it. So this will be searched cars exist. Okie doke. So I just need a Tesla. So here searched cars exist. Okie doke. So here I'm just gonna hard code this, return cars. Okay. So basically now what we do is we just have a list, we just add a Tesla car, and basically we just describe the happy paths, so that's it. So if everything goes well, and we return this car's array with the Tesla. So let's see if this works now. Fingers crossed. Okey-doke, it's firing up. So basically this is the advantage. Basically we would always have the consumer and the provider in sync. It would force us to have them in sync. So test results, okay, everything's green. So the pact, okay, got it from the pact broker. Okay, so 2 checks, so everything's good. Yeah, so that's it. This is the benefit of this kind of pact testing. It always guarantees that your consumer and your provider will be in sync. So yeah, it's pretty useful and it's pretty fun. And once I personally got over the configuration part, it's pretty fun. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you had as much fun as I did and you liked the video, just please give it a like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you around. I'll upload the code to GitHub and I'll link everything in the description. So yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers, guys.